Well, it was back in 33 or maybe 35. The dust was thick enough to chew, and the heat hung on you like a shroud. Old Maureen O'Malley swore up and down that the bank's collapse was directly linked to the sudden appearance of those little prickly things in the privy. Said their tiny needle-sharp feet were tapping out the rhythm of ruin on the floorboards, all the way from Opelika to the Gulf. No one had ever seen a hedgehog in Mississippi before or since. The sheer wrongness of it, the anachronistic audacity of those small foreign beasts under the magnolia trees, was enough to make a sensible woman question the very fabric of reality. I need a nap. Everything moves too fast now, fast enough that people forget the difference between ma'am and hey you. It started, I'll tell you, with that awful, shameful granule they call instant tea. It's all connected, you see. We lost the space and time where manners used to live. Now they're just ghosts, flitting around the edges of the porch light, bless their hearts, looking for a cool glass of something that was earned, not merely manufactured. And the only thing we got left is that low, buzzing sound of the instant tea dissolving, which is, I promise you, the sound of civilization giving up the ghost. Honey, have you heard the news? Myrtle May across the street, you know, the one with the prize-winning hydrangeas and the terrible habit of leaving her Christmas lights up till Easter, she finally did it. She caught him red-handed, didn't she? I hear he might be sleeping in his pickup truck now. Anyway, come on, Clara, grab your cigarettes and meet me on the porch. Mama claimed to see the ghost of her third cousin's favorite hound dog while stitching a portrait of a three-legged rabbit onto a velvet cushion, occasionally pausing to whisper secrets to the chipped plaster cherub on the mantelpiece. The cicadas screamed an almost unbearable gospel, and Uncle Silas kept trying to convince the Spanish moss that he was the rightful king of Spain. My mind has not yet recovered from the shock of caring about a Yankee election in New York City, of all places. When exactly did those little sticks of juicy fruit cross that invisible line from a kind of pale, almost bridal white, well, that particular shade of sun-drenched, overripe yellow? It wasn't a sudden thing, I reckon. Not like when old man Hemlock's prize-winning hen dog Barnaby just up and vanished right off the porch swing, leaving nothing but a faint smell of low tide and regret. Maybe the real question ain't when they turned, but why they had to go and change it all. Pass the iced tea, honey. My nerves as frazzled as a shredded screen door. My cousin Loretta said something that just put a burr right under my saddle about that whole Juniper Creek Cotillion Club. All that talk about tradition and heritage, I tell you, it smells thicker than week old gumbo down there. A club that is stubbornly unintegrated is the kind of place that thinks hot cuisine is possum under glass at the debutante ball. Honestly, the whole thing's got me so confused that I caught myself beginning to like that awful blonde congresswoman from Georgia. The air hung low in the parlor, thick and smelling of long regrets. I had been sitting in the damask chaise, thinking only of the man that got away. He vanished in a puff of smoke that smelled suspiciously like cheap bourbon and the cruel inevitability of fate. I was mourning his shadow when I heard it. Not the polite chime of Sunday, but the brassy, insistent clang, clang, clang of that miserable trolley bell. It was the sound of my life spinning too fast. The conductor, bless his soul, was tapping his foot with a kind of anxious patience, waiting for me to decide if I was getting on or if I was going to be left behind to rot in the heat. That trolley was carrying everything I'd ever wanted, carrying the knowledge that this world wasn't built for a delicate flower like me. And that's when I knew, absolutely surely, that I had to find a way to leave. I had to go somewhere over the rainbow, where the dreams I dared to dream really did come true, and where the trolley was polite enough to stay on its designated track. The lights went sideways, the air tasted like ozone and lemon drops, and I was flying. I was high above the rusty tracks, the lingering smell of the man that got away, and the judgmental pecan trees. And then I woke up. I was right back here on the Damask Chase. Oh, it was a terrible, wonderful, beautiful, tragic dream, filled with singing witches and little dogs and impossible things. But the whole time, my loves, the whole time I was searching for those ruby slippers and tapping my heels and hearing that clang, clang, clang that turned into the saddest little bluebird song. You, and you, and you, and you were there. It wasn't a sudden light, but a slow, sulphurous dawn down by the murky river where the cottonwoods sweat in the August heat. I was watching how you handled that poor, half-mad preacher down the way, how you pressed the life out of him like juice from a spoiled fig, using manners sweeter than cane syrup to conceal a heart blacker than that silt mud. And as I watched the grotesque politeness of the operation, I didn't see him anymore. I saw a shadow fall over my own face. It was the chilling, unmistakable moment I understood that the same cold, calculating machinery of cruelty grinding him into the dust was already humming, polished and ready, waiting for its turn with me, and that the very chain forged for his ankle would fit mine just as fine. I took a vow. The summer Aunt Beulah's Pomeranian, Silas, choked on a silk ribbon. I swore on my grandmother's bone china that I would never ever walk uphill again. I decided my life would be lived entirely on the level, gravity pulling me sweetly towards inevitable rest. But the devil is in the details, isn't it? It means I will never see Rock City, that beautiful painted promise on every roadside barn from Tennessee to Florida, haunting me with its 9-foot-tall letters. See Ruby Falls, see 7 states, see Rock City. That high-up garden full of painted gnomes and advertised majesty is just a short, blasphemously uphill climb away. Oh, honey, the light. It's just too glaring today, isn't it? It strips the paint right off a soul. They say cruelty is just the price of admission, but I tell you it settles in your bones like damp Spanish moss, clinging and heavy until you can barely lift your chin. A woman's soul, darling, it's meant to be a delicate thing, like Venetian lace or the pale, cool marble of a proper tomb. But they just keep scratching at it, don't they? All this poor behavior, the shouting, the forgetting of the courtesies, the terrible, unforgivable unmanneredness, it has utterly, utterly ruined my ability to wear a fashionable red hat. A proper red hat, you see, it demands a certain innocence, a clear, unsmudged self-regard. It demands a woman who hasn't seen too much. That bright, bold red would look like a blasphemy now, perched on this weary head that has seen the moon turn its back. It would just draw the eye to the wrong kind of decay. But thank the Lord above for small, certain mercies. They can take the crimson hat and the daylight decency. They can try to snatch the last shreds of illusion, but they cannot touch the velvet darkness of a proper retirement. To retire to one's own four-poster with the door bolted against the vulgar world and a generous glass of Merlot, that, my dear, is a fashion that is timeless, the retreat into a soft, wine-stained oblivion.